Until we got to the hospital, everything was great. We thought everything was going great. That's in the middle of the night when we were there, things started to go the wrong way, unfortunately. So it was traumatic.
So yes, we did have trouble getting pregnant. We realized that we were going to need fertility treatments.
It was a surprise.
It was a very big surprise, and even the fertility doctor was shocked. Everything was going smooth. They thought I would make it to 33, 34 weeks, which is actually far along for triplets. I was working full-time. And then really, I wasn't having any pain or anything, and then through the course of that night, it changed. A bunch of people rushed in and they wheeled me off to the operating room.
She was gone for probably 15 minutes. Then I went in with her and there's so much going on.
We always knew they would be early because they were triplets, but not that early.
Cam and Layla were both 1 pound 7 ounces, and Matthew was 1 pound 3 ounces.
They could fit in your hand. Very, very, very small. All the kids had a really, really rough go.
Every day was something different. That was not really positive.
They were all on ventilators and then oscillators.
Matthew and Layla both had brain bleeds.
They couldn't take a bottle. They were fed by IV. All three had heart surgery.
Cameron had a ostomy and a reversal, which is for the perforation of his bowels.
He also had a paralyzed diaphragm on his right side. I stopped taking notes. I was like, I can't do this anymore. When a baby is born severely premature, they have a risk of developing ROP, which is retinopathy of prematurity. The eyes are one of the last things to develop in utero. At that moment, I think it was thinking of 3 kids being blind was just something I just, couldn't even imagine. I was really starting to understand how bad things were. They would tell us, celebrate every milestone, every single one.
Even the little things that you don't think about.
Like weaning the ventilator or...
They gain an ounce.
They really did a wonderful job having us try and do normal things.
Change diapers.
We were very excited when we could put clothes on them. At one point or another, we had conversations with the doctors. Layla might not make it, Cameron might not make it, Matthew might not make it. For us, I think that was the worst time of my life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every day of life brings stress, but when you're adding in 3 kids you're worried about, it's hard. He eventually started having episodes where he would stop breathing, and it happened more frequently as the days went on.
Once we got those MRI results is when everything changed for us again, where we had to shift to knowing that he wasn't going to survive. Then also having 2 other kids that were getting better. They were wonderful and helped us do things with him those final days that, he wouldn't have done in the NICU. They let us take him on a walk. It was early February. It was cold. It was like from one door to the other door, so maybe 15, 20 seconds.
Not long.
The hospital had like a Starbucks. We went and sat by the fire with him, and an aquarium where Eric lifted him up and let him see the fish and gave him a little lick of a sucker. He liked it. That was our way of showing him any sort of normalcy, and having some sort of normal moment as a family. And then we sat there and held him. And that process probably took...
A few hours.
Yeah, a couple hours. Where it was fully he was gone. That was awful, really awful, and something that nobody should ever have to experience. You don't even have time to grieve what's happening with one child because you have to also worry about what's going on with the other two. Layla came home February 14th. So in those few days, we had planned a funeral, picked out a casket, buried him, and then literally the next day after we buried him, we took Layla home.
Them being home was the biggest excitement. You know, it was still a lot. Oxygen, apnea monitors, Layla's feeding tube. Obviously, any parent is nervous about bringing their kid home, but when you have all this other stuff you gotta worry about and you're expected to know what you're doing with the oxygen and the monitors, it adds a lot of stress and worry.
We had oxygen tanks, so we had to see the levels and then change it. And if we needed to go to the doctor, we'd have to change it to a portable oxygen tank.
There was always something going on. It was never a calm week of just enjoying your children. It was always something to go to, something to check up on, just something to worry about.
Lots of doctor's appointments, lots and lots of therapy, but
Felt good.
it felt good.
Felt normal.
And we had a lot of hope at that point. Cameron was taking a bottle and they were growing. I think in the beginning when they were home, like especially that first year, second year, there was a lot of hope, you know, that they would talk, they would, you know, do all these things.
The first time Layla and Cameron sitting up on their own, they started to crawl.
Which, you know, a crawling, that didn't happen until they were over a year old.
Come on, Cameron. Yes. Come on.
So everything's very delayed, but that's expected. But when it did happen, you know, it was super exciting. Many premature babies do end up having autism or just developmental delays. Even though it was hard, I think we both knew they had it, but it did then open the doors for them for more therapy, which eventually then did really help them. On our own, without help.
And then she told me, and I kind of was obviously shocked, to say the least. Excited, of course, but then your mind goes to, we have all this going on with Cam and Layla, and could it happen again? Could it be complications? You should be excited, but you're worried at the same time.
We didn't know what normal was until he came, until I was pregnant with him and experienced a normal pregnancy and a normal delivery, healthy, happy.
Get to hold your kid.
Get
right
to
away.
hold the baby. I was able to breastfeed, bringing him home after a few days. But he's been a wonderful blessing for our family. Then we had a CT scan, and that's when they said they suspected hepatoblastoma, or a tumor of the liver, and that we needed to transfer to Lurie Children's downtown immediately to start treatment. How can this be happening? Like, how much can one family be thrown, and in such a short amount of time?
Your mind doesn't go to a good place, obviously. It goes to a bad place where it's like, we've already lost a son. What's gonna happen?
She started chemotherapy, intense chemotherapy. Obviously, she then couldn't handle a lot of feeding. She was very pale, obviously started losing her hair. You know, it was hard. So she, you know, rang the bell and we had a little celebration for her. It was just amazing. And she is now 4 years in remission.
Just after Layla went into remission, we had another big health scare, and this time it was with Cameron. Ambulance finally came, rushed him to the ER, and later find out that he was having a seizure, his first seizure.
They eventually got the seizure under control. And that's where they did diagnose him with the epilepsy because his seizure was so long and drawn out that they wanted to start him on medication right away. He was diagnosed just after his 3rd birthday.
It affects his right side. He walks a little different. His right side's weaker, his right side's tighter. He also has a brachial plexus injury, which affects his right arm. Just his arm's kind of stuck like that a lot, and anything he does will like put on like his elbow or something to use it. He can't really grip anything.
And Cameron is still nonverbal to this day. And Layla has a few words. She'll say yeah,
Hi. She loves hi.
She loves hi, and go. Sometimes she'll try and say mom. So I think now, at least for me, the hardest part is knowing that they are going to need lifetime care. They are always going to need somebody to help them.
Getting dressed, feeding, preparing things for school. You name it, we do it for him. And trying to balance a 5-year-old who wants your attention too is not easy.
Not knowing sometimes what they want, or them knowing what they want. Like Layla is very like, she likes her house and she doesn't want to go anywhere. She doesn't even want you to put her shoes on. Going anywhere is very difficult. We don't do a lot of things as a family.
It's hard because you want to make those memories together, and it's very difficult to do.
That is what One for the Kids can help us the most with, is really their long-term care. I mean, our biggest fear is something happens to one of us or both of us. And Misericordia is a place that we've looked into for the kids. They kind of go the extra mile than a lot of the standard facilities. They have more activities. They do work programs, craft programs, amazing things. And that's probably the type of place we would love for Cameron and Layla to go at when they get older. And they also need something more beyond our 4 walls. They need something more. We can't do this the rest of our life. But you have to think about these things so early on. That times 2 plus inflation, it's basically almost college for the rest of their life. And we worry about William and him being the person who's going to be responsible for them. And we can't leave everything on him. They need to be in a place that can take care of them when we're both not here, and in a place where they can thrive so that he can also have a normal life and live his life wherever that may be. That's what One for the Kids could really give us, the peace of mind for our whole family's future, for Cam and Layla's future, for William's future, for our future. It's just never ending, unfortunately, the cost associated with special needs and intellectual disabilities.